Welcome to the bustling city of London, where the air is crisp, the coffee is strong, and the marketing minds are sharper than ever. Today, we've gathered at this unique summit to discuss an intriguing topic that's been on the minds of marketers worldwide. Account-based marketing, or ABM as it's fondly known. Very intriguing presentations and great insights through the morning sessions have set the stage for a great second half. In the upcoming session, we delve into an actual real-life scenario of implementing an ABM strategy, the challenges and the hard effort that converts strategy into outcomes. The focus is clearly on driving quality over quantity, having defined frameworks that can drive the discipline of ABM and deliver the desired outcomes. While it may seem complicated, ABM could be that silver bullet that you always wanted in your arsenal. Hope you enjoy the session.
Everybody, thank you for the opportunity. And any given day, the session after lunch is the toughest one, right? That's why we're going to try hard to keep you guys awake. But quickly, today I think you guys would have attended a few sessions from morning. And there's so much of myths about ABM that hopefully has got resolved, right? But in my world, EvolveBPM, we are a service provider. We provide actual ABM solutions to our customers, right? And in our world, we just want to focus on two main things. When customers come to us and say, I want to run an ABM program, the first two things we ask them is, why do you want to run it? More often than not, we say that I need more marketing qualified leads. I need more content syndication. I need more awareness. And I'm like, let's not do ABM. Let's do the normal program. It's not ABM, right? So the why is the most important thing. If the why is not established, do not embark on an ABM journey. The second one, which is even critical, is the when. When we're doing an ABM program, please understand that it is science in motion. It cannot deliver overnight. It takes time to understand the target accounts and then deliver to the target account. So if somebody's saying, where are my leads at the end of a week, end of a month, not happening. You have to set the right expectations. ABM at a bare minimum takes at least 3 months to start coming out of the ground, right? So if you're clear about your why and your when, then I think we are good to take it ahead. But, this is, it's so beautiful, in this world, we are all brilliant marketers sitting in this room. We are talking ABM, we are talking intent, we are talking B2B, P2B. My simple concept, I've been in sales for 28 years, right? I've sold to customers. Nothing is more important than P2P, that is, people still buy from people. That is the basic nuance we need to be clear. Quick example, I was working with a technology company. I was based in New York, and the client was based in Washington, D.C. It was a telecom client, and we got shortlisted for an RFP to do finance and accounting outsourcing, right? We were shortlisted with Accenture. So they're the two finalists in the race. And we had a week where they said, come here and present your final presentation. So, I was with Hewlett-Packard at that time, and we got 50 people into a room, and the whole week we put about 100 great slides, which kind of summarized why we would do better than Accenture. The Monday before the presentation, the weekend, I'm going through the slides, and I'm thinking to myself, what is different here? What is that we have not told the client already? There's nothing, right? Then I started reading up a little bit on the key stakeholders of the client organization, the key buyers and the decision makers, the CFO, and a couple of his colleagues. And what we discovered is the CFO is a big swimming fan, and it was Olympics time at that time. What I chose to do is I started reading a lot on the Olympics and the swimming and the whatever practice of swimming. And then we went in on Monday morning, and I told these guys, I need time, at least about half hour with the CFO before we do the presentation. And we started talking. And we opened up on swimming, and I opened up the topic on that. And trust me, there was nothing related to the RFP that was being spoken. And then he spoke about his kids, their passion about swimming, and who's his favorite swimmer, science behind swimming. It was beautiful. And then finally he said, Satish, I have to let go of people, right? If I'm going to be outsourcing this, I have to let go of people. And these are people who work for me. How can you reduce that impact on my organization? So we said, okay, can you absorb some of them into HP? Because you guys have this. That was enough for us. We went back, reworked the deal. We came back with a proposal where we were able to absorb 30% of the people who got impacted. After a week, 10 days, we closed the deal. So what worked here? There was no, I mean, this is simple human psychology, right? You have to connect with your buyers. The second example I'm going to quickly walk you through is my experience with an American football backliner who played for the New York Giants. His name was Harry Carson. And again, you know, similar customer, we are working a $250 million deal. The stakeholder says he's a big fan of Harry Carson. He's got Harry Carson's pictures all over his office, and it was a no-brainer. How I got to know Harry Carson, don't ask me. But Euler, the next week, Harry Carson sends him a signed football with his personalized, right? And Harry Carson meets him for dinner. Guess where the deal goes? Again, what is this? This is influencer marketing. That is what we talk about today, influencer marketing, intent, blah, blah, blah. But this is something as sales guys we've done all our lives. Sales guys walk the corridors of our clients. You know, when we used to work early 2000, we used to be there in the client's facility from morning to evening, during coffee breaks, listening to clients, speaking to customers, understanding their challenges, understanding what they really worried about. And it was easier to sell. Now, all of a sudden you have the buyers, you know, ingesting so much of content digitally that it becomes difficult to connect. But the underlying factor, the most important factor we need to understand, we have to communicate at the same level we did when we were doing face-to-face. That is the personalization you're talking about, the hyper-personalization. Call it whatever you want. But to connect with the buyers, you got to really invest time and effort in finding out who they are. Okay? Now I would like to basically end up this first part of it, basically to say that, you know, guys, humans buy from humans. Focus on that. Whatever you're selling, whatever you're trying to tell, speak from a perspective where you're solving an issue and everything else will fall into place, right? So quickly moving ahead, we, EvolveBPM, we are a service provider, like I said. We had a beautiful opportunity with a sponsor of ours, Mphasis. Mphasis is a $1.7 billion IT company. It's based in New York, and they have 45,000 employees globally. They engaged with us and said that, can you come on board and help us with an ABM strategy? And the chief architect of this from their end is their chief marketing officer, Veda Iyer, and I'll call you on stage, Veda.
Just building on to what Satish said, right? People buy from people, and that's what happened between Satish and me when we started engaging. Just to give you a little bit of color of who I am and what I do, my name is Veda Iyer. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer at Mphasis, spent about 23 years in the industry. And what is interesting about my journey is that I started my career to being a person who was involved with customer experience. From customer experiences, it moved on to handling operations. And then I decided that the only way to get closer to your customer is if you are getting into their shoes and trying to do what really fits in well to get them to know what they want. So I moved into the sales role. I spent a lot of my time in sales role, and I realized that many a times while you are doing the right kind of selling, it somewhere or somehow falls through the gaps or cracks, because not everybody in the ecosystem is completely connected to what is it that you're trying to take out to them. And I would often, being in that role, say, my marketing team doesn't do enough, or my marketing team doesn't get what I want, and it's almost always as if I'm having to do this myself. And then I said, okay, if this is how things are going to be, why don't I change course, and why don't I try to do something which will enable and make sales easy? And therefore, I shifted gears and I moved on to becoming a marketeer. And guess what? The first step I took in that direction was heading strategic account-based marketing. And the reason why I did strategic account-based marketing was that I realized in my existing organization, 80% of the revenue comes in from 20% of your clients, right? The typical Pareto analysis. And if you are not doing the right things for those customers of yours, and if you are not learning from those customers, the ability for you to influence net new sales is impossible. Because if people who are your existing clients don't buy from you, why should new customers buy from you, right? Your customers would always ask, show me credibility, where have you done this, what have you done, and why should we work with you, what is your differentiation? So I said, okay, let's start with strategic account marketing, and ABM sits right on top of that, right? And from that, I decided that let's do a combination. So in my role right now, while I'm the global CMO, I also lead sales for Asia Pacific. And the reason why I also do that is that, remember, as marketeers, as far and as much as possible, try to align your role to have some value realization or revenue generation. Because otherwise, we are always considered to be a cost center, right? You never get your budgets, you're always short of funds, you always have to compromise on what you have, make most of what you can do. But if you can do it in a manner that you say, hey, you know what? I'll help you get the revenue. And then you have people and tables turning, and then they want you to be on the table deciding and having conversations on how you can move to the next level. So in the next few slides, I want to show you how can you get that done. And one of the key...
I think the beauty of this entire thing is, as marketeers, is how do you fund an ABM program? And I think that one and the teams, what you set up at your end.
Yeah, actually I went so much into the flow that I've forgotten what my slide says. So my slide has moved ahead and I have not even reached there because I was so much in connection with looking into each one of your eyes, and I can see each one of you nodding, so I feel I'm connecting. So pardon me for not following the PPT, because typically that's just a framework for us to work on, but really it's conversations that really matter. So two parts on the previous slide which were important was, one, ensuring that you are in alignment with the sales team. And what that means is, in a previous session I heard somebody say that, the sales team says, show me your menu card. What is it that you have that I can take to my customers? So more often than not, stand tall and tell them that, listen, this is not a restaurant. You need to co-create. Unless you take ownership of what we are trying to deliver to customers, it's extremely difficult for them to be able to then start saying whether there is a ROI on it or not. And second part, and most important, is funding. Now, what I want to say, because of my association with both sales and marketing, is that funding is not just your own organization. Because I work for a tech company, and Mphasis is a $6 billion market capitalization and $1.8 billion in terms of revenue, we provide application, infrastructure, and VPS service. And by virtue of that, what we've seen is that there is a whole ecosystem of hyperscalers, AWS, Microsoft, Google, VMware, you name it, and they're willing to fund and spend on account-based marketing initiatives. Therefore, expand your network and don't just restrict yourselves to budgets coming in from your organization. So these are two key aspects that I want to talk to you about in this one. And of course, you need to sell the internal case to your C-suite. If your CEO or your CFO is your sponsor, then half the battle is won, because then they really know where to take this to. In the next slide, you'll talk about what is it that we are saying when we measure quality over quantity. And in that, you need to clearly ensure that you are going after the right high-value customers. And when we say high-value customers, you can differentiate it into three parts. Your existing accounts, where you need to protect your business. Your growth accounts, which are your long tail of customers that exist, but they are not doing as much. And then there is net new that you can go after. How do you bucket them into different aspects that you can then cater your ABM to? Second, you need to obviously have content because content is the king, and that's how you will be able to take hyper-personalized and persona-driven content to the leaders. And most importantly, you need to work with partners to create the right engagement models. On the next slide, we are talking about how did we create a playbook for defining, designing, implementing, and thereafter analyzing and optimizing all that we spoke about, the quality metrics that you need to follow. And we thought the best way to do this is to partner. And you can see the fact that, you know, he's brought in a customer to speak for what he does. That shows that we really work in tandem, and we work in a manner that it is benefiting both of us, and both of us, believe me, are championing and are executive sponsors to the engagement that you are working, which is one of the key essence of you partnering with any internal stakeholder or an external stakeholder. And Satish, maybe you want to take them through how did we go through the defined process jointly?
Sure. So guys, you know, whatever said and done, when you're doing
I'm going to
ABM,
sit.
Yeah. Well done. So when you do ABM, spend as much time as possible in the define phase. This is phase one, right? And why is it important? Like just Veda was mentioning, you have to have executive sponsorship from the sponsoring company. That's the company who's running the program and the company who's delivering the services. So in our case, we both were the sponsors. But another most important thing is, even within the Mphasis world, there were clearly nominated people who were designated to work with us. One was a marketing SPOC, the second one was a sales enablement SPOC. Now, we can go to them for everything that we needed in terms of content or everything. And from our side, we had an ABM strategist, and under the ABM strategist, we had an entire army of people. I don't know how many of you understand the American football parlance, but the simple thing is ABM is just not about, you know, it's just not about acquiring new customers, right? It's not about just market share, but it is also about wallet share. The actors change and interchange because when you're on an offensive stage, you're trying to, you know, go for a touchdown, then you're looking at basically the sales guys leading the efforts. And when you're in a wallet share, where in an account you already have some sort of presence, then you already have existing account players. But the quarterback has got to be the ABM strategist. That is the most important thing. They got to be owning the chart and they've got to be driving it. So here, if you see, you know, the phase one, why is defined so important? When you're talking about ICP identification, that is your ideal customer profile, what we did is we invested a significant amount of time in actually studying probable customers. One, obviously, what the sales team felt that these are the right kind of customers that they need to go after. The second thing, when we are actually looking at accounts, is basically we are looking at strategic objectives, business objectives. If you can zoom in, please. You know, we had to go through a lot of things, you know, strategic focus, what kind of, you know, business priorities they have and things like that. So there was a significant amount of effort that actually went into this, and we leveraged a variety of off-the-shelf tools and also in-house tools, including LinkedIn. I mean, LinkedIn Insights, I don't know how much of you guys never, you know, leverage that, but it's a great tool as far as ABM is concerned, right? And, you know, we also had the ability that we could possibly use a lot of intent-based data in the define phase. So ICP identification, very key, very important. You have to go through a rigorous research process. The second thing is who's going to be buying from you, at least at a high level based on your experience of your sales guys. You can define based on revenue size, geography, industry, and insights. You can say, these are the typical guys who are going to be buying from us. Why is it important? Because a manager in a $50 million company is very different from a manager in a $5 billion company, right? So make sure that your buyer persona is clearly well defined and mapped. The define phase, typically in our world, it takes at least between 2 to 4 weeks, depending on the size of the ABM program. Now, talking about the design phase, this is really key, guys, right? When you spend time on this, the who aspect, right, which is really you got to understand within an organization there are going to be different profiles of people. It's going to be an end user, an influencer, and a decision maker, right? How do you identify them, right? If you can just click on explore there, what we've done is using LinkedIn, very simple framework. We said based on the person's experience, number of years in the current role, number of years, we actually have a framework, and we will be sharing this framework maybe on a drive so you guys can use it as and when you require. The output is automatic here. So what we did, what is the role, how many total years of experience, current company, how many years, current role, how many years, do a quick scan of their profile and understand the keywords based on which this tool will give you this output, right? And explore one more slide, please. The other beautiful thing that we did is we took 1,300 decision makers of Mphasis and mapped out everything from their previous job profiles, where did they work, how long did they work, their interests, the colleges, and mapped it against our target account that we were going after. Very similar mapping. The beauty of this is we got at least 8 appointments because of common connects. Somebody had been to college together, somebody had worked in their previous companies, somebody had recommended somebody. It's beautiful. I mean, this is very simple science, right? But it takes time and effort in understanding.
And just to add on to what Satish is saying, the important aspect of here is that don't just restrict this playbook to ABM alone. If you help your sales guys to build this on a continuous basis, whether or not the funding remains or it stops for a certain time, or whether you have to move to Horizon 2 or Horizon 3 kind of engagement with the customer, the playbook becomes the crux for you to go after the account. So that has to be in a continuous motion.
Thanks, Veda. Just go back. The second part of it is, once you've done the research, so the outcome is when you've done your intel on the target accounts and you've clearly understood what are the challenges and what are the opportunities that this account has. Now you have to start mapping it against what Mphasis capabilities were, right? So that is what happened in the what we are going to be selling, is we understood what is the customer actually talking about. So through our intel research, we were able to determine what is it they're really struggling with, who are they working with right now, who is competitors, what kind of presence the competitors have, right? Based on that, we did the mapping, and we had a sign off from the sales team saying that yes, we are good. These are the people we are selling to, these are the services that we're going to be selling, and then we go to the marketing team and say, okay, what kind of content do you have to support these kind of services, right? Once we get that, then we get into the campaign calendar, where we schedule everything from programmatic outreach or email outreach or LinkedIn outreach, whatever it is, we leveraged everything. Programmatic display, LinkedIn inbox, in-mail, LinkedIn ads, LinkedIn conversational ads, emails, beautiful, right? And unless we had a minimum of 3 to 4 digital touch points, there is no way somebody is going to call them with any kind of reach out. The end outcome of this program, guys, was we had to set up appointments for Veda's sales team.
And yet we fight, because we think it's not enough, and we think that there's a lot more that can be done, because the kind of content that we are able to generate together is something that I'm leveraging not only for the accounts that we are mapped out and told Evolve team to work on, but this is also getting leveraged for the other accounts for which the campaign is not being done, but it's reusable content that can then be expanded to net new accounts as well.
And this is the kind of dashboards, and this is from our ABM platform, guys. This is the define and design phase, where the reason I'm showing you this is at the end of every stage, make sure there is a toll-gated approach. Unless the sponsor company stakeholders are signing off on each step, do not proceed to the next step. Otherwise, there are going to be conflicts that happen. So we basically have, basically toll-gated the entire thing. And these playbooks, we will share it with you guys. We will share it in a link. But once you go to implement, this phase is like, now that you've done with all these things, right, Veda?
Yeah.
You've done with strategy, you've done with define, design, and then you said, now tell me what is exactly you're going to deliver. So like I said, we used the available content to leverage these 4 channels, right? Now, here is where the beauty of the thing comes in, where we said that we actually, Mphasis gave us a lot of content, but it was mostly in the PDF format or Word format or from the websites. We actually converted them into engaging videos. If you can just click on this. This is an AI tool that we have built in-house, which is basically takes the text and converts it into a very conversational video. And the video is good because it is interactive videos, right? That means I can stop at 10 seconds and ask a question and get a response. I can stop at 20. So this is all AI driven. And we use this template, this video, for all the channels. We used it for LinkedIn, we used it for email, and the kind of insights we started getting from that, because video we know is about 8 to 10x much better engagement than just plain text emails, right? So just leveraging this across all channels, we were able to get a very consolidated view on lead level score and account level scores, right? And when you actually look at the kind of results that we got, this is just a so I don't know what happened here, but you look at the kind of results that we got from this is basically, you know, we've last year we set up, it's an indicative number because they are a listed company. We cannot really comment on what kind of deals, what size of deals, but I think on an average, out of 38 appointments that we set up, we were able to convert at least 2 of them into actual deals, right? That's like a overall scenario. But what you need to do is then you need to optimize the shit out of it. You know, optimize, right? Every week you have to go through these reports, right? Every week look at the impressions, who's engaging, what kind of asset is working, what is not working, which geography, which industry, right? So we have to do this on a regular basis, and then once with that insights, if you're able to optimize and you're able to re-strategize and redo this, you are going to find success. It cannot be that elusive, right? And we've seen that. So without much ado,
yeah.
Veda, you have
no, I just have some things to say to Satish personally, and this he has to then do because he's committing in front of all of you. There are only 3 ways in which we are going to be operating here, which is what I call as ROI. One is how much is he helping me in converting my relationships to revenue. That's the first R. The second is what is it that we are going to do together in terms of creating opportunities, which is your O. And the third is what are we doing in terms of building an impact, which is either the brand positioning or the value proposition or the differentiation. And those are the 3 parameters in which we have to work together as a team and build that kind of momentum and outreach. And more importantly, I think this is a journey that has to be done on a regular basis, but we cannot afford to do this the traditional way. We all as marketeers have to be absolutely nimble and agile and make sure that we are ready to fail fast, but also course correct and move in the right direction to ensure that there is always and always quality over quantity. Thank you so much for listening to us, and I'm happy to take any questions, and so is Satish.
Round of applause, folks. Thank you so much. Thank you. We've got time maybe for a couple of questions. Just to say, that's an incredibly well thought through, well delivered approach. We've been in here talking about creativity. Sure. And creativity isn't just coming from the art department. It comes from other departments as well. Science. I really like the fact that you've got a combo of sales and marketing together, tackling marketing rather than marketing over here and that silo approach we get. So bravo to you. Any questions from anybody in the room? Yes, man at the back. Do you mind projecting, my friend? Go for it.
It's a 2-part my question, so I'm trying to get out as quick as I can. So obviously the session is written at quality over quantity when it comes to ABM. You spoke a lot about the theory behind ABM, what it is and how you can do it, but I feel like the quality part was missing just slightly. So in terms of what a high quality, what you envision a high quality campaign to look like, what would that be? Secondly, as marketers, sometimes the powers above us are really pushing for more and more faster, so there's an imbalance between what quality and quantity is. So what recommendations would you have to kind of get that balance back?
Great question. All right, so quality versus quantity.
So I'll take
Veda.
the second question first, and that goes on to the fact that in every organization, there is always this power play of, is marketing an important function enough for us to start having conversations with the sales leaders or with the CEO to have a common alignment of what is it that we want to do. And my recommendation for all of you leaders, including yourselves as well as for your CMOs, would be to have conversations around what is the value differentiation, which is where I started with, right? If you can talk about outcomes, if you can quantify what is it that you will deliver, and this may not be an immediate, like for example, if you run an ABM campaign, you cannot directly attribute it to the campaign giving you that kind of sales lead on an immediate basis. But if you continuously keep doing this over time, and you implement it in the manner that we showed in the phased manner, you will definitely be able to show the quantification, and that's how probably you are able to generate that kind of trust that you will build within the organization to be able to add more and more to the top line as well as to the bottom line. Now, to your question on what is it that we need to do from quality metrics standpoint, and again, these would be, in the traditional manner, you had, what is it that people would do from above the line? How many people saw your ads? Did it convert into sales? Is it that you had as many people eyeball it? Was there enough TV? But in the digital world, many organizations are still trying to find out what should actually be the metrics that will be aligned to say that this is what is the reason for which the success or the quality was done. But the advantage in the world today versus that is your spends are much limited. What you would have done earlier to do a large campaign would have costed you millions of dollars, versus today you can keep doing this in shorter bursts, and you can try to see whether there is an effectiveness and impact that is getting created. You can have your customers validate. You have different channels and platforms that you can leverage, and that will be able to give you the quantification and qualification of what you're trying to do. That, in my opinion, is what I would follow for my organization as well.
There you go. 2 questions, 2 answers. Thank you very much, Veda.
Thank you.
Listen, that's all we've got time for. Big round of applause to Satish and Veda.